The warning came too late. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the Grand Hall of the Galactic Council, watching the holographic displays flash red across every wall. Earth's diplomatic station on Kepler 442b had gone dark. No distress signal. No survivors. Just silence where 300 human lives had been. "The Council has spoken," announced Zarlok, the mantis-like creature who served as speaker. His compound eyes showed no emotion as he delivered humanity's death sentence. "Your species has grown too dangerous, too unpredictable. The assassination protocols have been activated." Chen Wei felt his hands clench into fists. Humanity had joined the Galactic Council only 50 years ago, bringing hope and new ideas to ancient civilizations. They had shared their music, their art, their dreams of unity. And this was their reward. "You send assassins against children?" Chen Wei's voice echoed through the chamber. "Against scientists and teachers?" "We send what is necessary," Zarlok replied. "The Void Hunters have never failed. They will visit every human world, every colony, every ship. Your species will end quietly, efficiently. It is better than war." The other species in the council chamber remained silent. The crystalline Altarians dimmed their lights in what might have been shame. The aquatic Cetians bubbled nervously in their tanks. But none spoke against the decision. Chen Wei activated his emergency beacon, a small device hidden in his palm. The signal would reach Earth in minutes through quantum entanglement. "You've made a mistake," he said softly. "Humans don't die quietly." The first reports came within hours. Human colonies across the outer rim fell silent. Mining stations, research outposts, small settlements, all contact lost. The Void Hunters worked with terrifying efficiency. They were legends in the galaxy, shapeshifters who could become shadow, who could walk through walls, who killed without leaving a trace. On Earth, the Global Defense Council convened in an underground bunker beneath Mount Cheyenne. General Sarah Morrison stood before a room filled with humanity's greatest military minds. The holographic display showed red dots spreading across human space like a plague. 47 colonies dark in 6 hours, she reported. No survivors found. No Vodius. No signs of struggle. Just empty stations and ships. Admiral Yuki Tanaka slammed his fist on the table. "How do we fight an enemy we can't see? These Void Hunters, the intelligence reports say they're virtually undetectable." "Then, we don't try to detect them," Morrison replied. She pulled up a new display. "Ladies and gentlemen, I present Operation Prometheus. If they want to hunt humans, we'll show them what humans hunt like." The plan was audacious. Instead of trying to defend every colony, Earth would consolidate its population to fortified worlds. But, more importantly, they would activate Protocol 7, the emergency measure humanity had hoped never to use. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in facilities known only to the highest security clearances, doors that had been sealed for 20 years began to open. The Prometheus units awakened. Dr. James Park stood in the observation chamber, watching the first unit rise from its suspension pod. 2 decades ago, humanity had created its ultimate warriors, not through genetic engineering or cybernetic enhancement, but through something far more dangerous. They had found a way to weaponize human potential itself. Unit 1 online, the technician reported. Neural activity nominal. Physical parameters, dear God. Park watched the readings spike across every measurement. Strength, speed, reflexes, cognitive processing, all beyond anything previously recorded. But it was the other measurements that made him shiver. Determination, willpower, the burning drive to protect that lived in every human heart, amplified 1,000-fold. The figure in the pod opened its eyes. Captain Maria Santos, formerly of the Earth Defense Force, now something more. The Prometheus process had taken humanity's best warriors and removed every limitation, every restriction that held back human potential. "Captain Santos," Park spoke through the intercom. "Do you remember your mission?" Santos stood, her movements fluid and precise. When she spoke, her voice carried an edge that hadn't been there before. "Protect humanity. Eliminate all threats. Show no mercy to those who would harm our people." Across Earth and its core worlds, 200 Prometheus units awakened. Each had been a volunteer, knowing the process was irreversible. They had given up their normal lives to become humanity's ultimate response to existential threats. The Void Hunters continued their work, unaware of what had been unleashed. On the agricultural world of New Eden, a family of colonists huddled in their farmhouse as shadows moved outside. The Void Hunters had come, sliding through the darkness like living nightmares. The door dissolved at their touch. 3 shapes entered, their forms constantly shifting, never quite solid enough to see clearly. The family, parents, and 2 children pressed against the back wall. There was nowhere to run. The first Void Hunter reached for the youngest child. Its appendage never made contact. A hand caught at mid-reach, crushing what passed for its wrist with impossible force. Maria Santos stood there, having appeared as silently as the assassins themselves. Her enhanced eyes could see what normal humans couldn't, the Void Hunters' true forms beneath their shadow cloaks. "You made 3 mistakes," she said calmly. "First, you came for our children." The Void Hunter tried to phase out of her grip. It failed. Whatever energy allowed them to shift between states, Santos' enhanced biology could match it. Second, you thought humans were weak because we show mercy. She moved faster than thought. The first Void Hunter crumpled, its core structure shattered. The other 2 attacked simultaneously, moving with speed that would have overwhelmed any normal warrior. Santos flowed between their strikes, her enhanced nervous system processing combat data at superhuman speeds. Third, you forgot that humans are persistence hunters. We don't stop, ever. In 30 seconds, 3 legendary assassins lay defeated. Santos turned to the terrified family. "Transport will arrive in 10 minutes. You're safe now." Across human space, similar scenes played out. The Prometheus units struck without warning, appearing wherever the Void Hunters attacked. They moved through space on stealth ships, used drop pods for planetary insertion, and hunted with a relentlessness that began to terrify even the assassins. Lieutenant Commander Zhang Wei tracked a Void Hunter cell through the asteroid mining facility on Vesta. His enhanced senses could detect the minute gravitational distortions their phasing technology created. 20 miners had died here before he arrived. There would be no more deaths. The Void Hunters had made their base in the zero-gravity processing center. Zhang moved through the facility like a ghost, using magnetic boots when needed, pushing off walls with calculated precision. The assassination cell had 12 members, a strike force large enough to eliminate a small city. Zhang found them gathered around their dimensional phase generator, the device that allowed them to move undetected between locations. They were preparing to leave for their next target. He wouldn't let that happen. The battle in zero gravity was like a deadly ballet. The Void Hunters could phase through matter, but Zhang had learned their patterns. Every ability had limits. When they phased, they couldn't attack. When they solidified to strike, they were vulnerable. And Zhang's enhanced reflexes meant he could exploit those millisecond windows. He used the environment against them, rupturing coolant lines to create clouds of freezing gas that revealed their forms. He predicted their movements, placing himself where they would materialize. One by one, they fell. The last Void Hunter tried to activate an emergency beacon. Zhang's hand closed over the device, crushing it, and the appendage holding it. "No reinforcements," he said. "No escape. You came to hunt humans. Congratulations, you found us." Back on Earth, the Global Defense Council received reports from across human space. The Prometheus units were turning the tide. For every human colony the Void Hunters destroyed, 3 assassination cells were eliminated. The Hunters had become the hunted. But General Morrison knew this was just the beginning. The Galactic Council would escalate. They had to. "Ma'am," her aide reported, "we're receiving a transmission from a council. Speaker Zarlok demands to speak with you." Morrison smiled grimly. "Put him through." The hologram of Zarlok materialized, his compound eyes glittering with what might have been anger or fear. "What have you done?" The Void Hunters report impossible resistance. "Your warriors appear from nowhere, strike without mercy. This was supposed to be a clean elimination. You sent assassins after our children. Morrison replied. Did you really think we wouldn't respond? The Council will mobilize the full fleet. We will glass your worlds rather than see monsters like these Prometheus units spread through the galaxy. Then, you'll learn another lesson about humanity, Morrison said. We've been preparing for this day since we first reached the stars. Every colony, every ship, every human in space, we all understood that one day someone might try to wipe us out, and we prepared accordingly. She cut the transmission and turned to her staff. Activate all reserves. Bring the deep space fleets online, and send the authorization codes to all Prometheus units. It's time for Phase 2. In the depths of space, humanity's true military might began to reveal itself. Hidden fleets powered up their drives. Asteroid bases that had seemed like simple mining operations unveiled massive weapons arrays. And on 100 worlds, more Prometheus units awakened. The galaxy had sent its best assassins. Now they would face humanity's elite warriors. And the universe would learn why humans had survived every challenge their harsh world had thrown at them. The war for humanity's survival had begun. The Void Hunter designation Kralvek had killed for 3,000 years. It had eliminated species, ended bloodlines, and toppled empires. Fear was an emotion it had never experienced. Until now, Kralvek phased through the bulkhead of the human cargo vessel, expecting easy prey. Merchant crews were always the simplest targets, untrained, unprepared, soft. The ship's manifest showed 30 crew members. A quick elimination, then on to the next target. The cargo bay was empty. No panicked humans running for escape pods. No futile attempts at resistance. Just silence and shadows between the shipping containers. Kralvek's enhanced senses detected heartbeats deeper in the ship. The humans were hiding. Good. Fear made the hunt more efficient. Moving through the ship's corridors, Kralvek noted the strange calmness. No alarms. No lockdown protocols. The lights functioned normally. It was as if the crew didn't know a Void Hunter had boarded. Impossible. Their phase entry always triggered some detection systems. The first heartbeat was close. Behind a maintenance panel, Kralvek flowed through the metal barrier, ready to strike. The space was empty except for a small device pumping rhythmically. A decoy. But that meant the blade penetrated Kralvek's phase field before it could react. Pain, sharp and real, flooded its consciousness. The Void Hunter solidified involuntarily, purple ichor leaking from the wound. Standing behind it was a human, but different from any Kralvek had encountered. Captain Marcus Chun of the Prometheus unit smiled coldly. Gotcha. Kralvek tried to phase away, but Chin's blade was no ordinary weapon. The edge disrupted phase fields, forcing matter to remain solid. The Void Hunter had never encountered such technology. It lashed out with appendages that could slice through steel, but Chun moved like water, flowing around each attack. 3,000 years of killing, Chun said, driving his blade deeper. Never faced real opposition. Never adapted. Never evolved. That's the difference between us. With a twist of a blade, Chun severed Kralvek's core nervous cluster. The ancient assassin collapsed, its form flickering between states before finally going still. Chun activated his communicator. Cargo vessel Mercy's dream secure. One Void Hunter eliminated. No civilian casualties. Across human space, similar reports flooded the communication networks. The Prometheus units had turned merchant vessels into traps, colonies into killing grounds, and space stations into mazes of death for the Void Hunters. But the real shock was yet to come. On the Galactic Council's military command station, Admiral Thexar of the Regelian Empire studied the tactical displays with growing concern. The Void Hunter success rate had plummeted from 100% to less than 30% in just days. Worse, they were losing communication with entire assassination cells. Show me the last transmission from Cell 779, Thexar commanded. The hologram materialized, showing a Void Hunter cell leader's final moments. The assassin was speaking rapidly in their clicking language, reporting mission failure, when something appeared behind it. A human, moving so fast the recording systems could barely track it. The human's hand passed through the Void Hunter's chest, pulling out something vital. The transmission ended. How many cells have we lost? FXAR asked. 43 confirmed eliminated. 27 missing. Only 12 reporting continued operations, and those are avoiding human targets. FXAR's 4 eyes widened. The Void Hunters avoiding targets? It was unthinkable. They were programmed, conditioned, bred to hunt without hesitation or fear. Give me a live connection to any active cell, the Admiral ordered. The connection established with Cell 315, operating near the human colony of Proxima Centauri. The cell leader appeared on screen, and FXAR immediately noticed something wrong. The Void Hunter was trembling. Report your status, FXAR commanded. We cannot proceed with the mission, the Void Hunter clicked. The humans, they're not prey. They're something else. They know where we will be before we arrive. They see us when we phase. They strike without mercy, without hesitation. And they enjoy it. You are Void Hunters. You do not know fear. We did not. But we have learned. The humans taught us. They are not defending. They are hunting us, tracking us across systems, following us to our safe houses. They eliminated Cell 427 while they slept in their suspension pods. Cell 893 was taken apart piece by piece, kept alive to broadcast their screams to other cells. The humans want us afraid, and it is working. The transmission cut suddenly. FXAR waited, but it did not resume. Another cell gone. On Earth's moon, General Morrison reviewed the psychological warfare reports with satisfaction. The Prometheus units weren't just eliminating Void Hunters, they were breaking them. Humanity's study of their own predator psychology had revealed a crucial truth. Nothing was more terrifying than becoming prey to a superior hunter. Phase 2 is proceeding ahead of schedule, reported Colonel Lisa Park. The Void Hunters are beginning to refuse missions. Some cells are attempting to flee Council space entirely. Let them run, Morrison said. But make sure they know we're following. The fear they spread will do more damage than killing them would. Ma'am, what about the Council's threat to mobilize their fleets? Morrison pulled up a star chart. That's what Phase 3 is for. Show them the Titan deployment zones. The display revealed something that made even the hardened Colonel step back. Around every major Council world, markers appeared indicating human presence. Not fleets, not invasion forces, just small, single-occupant craft that had been dormant for years, disguised as debris or asteroids. Titan-class Prometheus units, Morrison explained. Volunteers who underwent an even more extreme process. They've been sleeping in deep space, waiting. One warrior per planet, with enough firepower to level cities and the skills to disappear into any population. Jesus, Park whispered. When did we? The moment we joined the Galactic Council. We knew this day might come. Humans prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Now the Council will learn what that means. The first Titan unit activated above the Altarian homeworld. Sarah Vong had been dormant for 15 years, her enhanced body sustained by minimal life support, her mind kept sharp by neural training programs. As consciousness returned fully, so did her mission parameters. The crystalline cities of Altair spread below her, beautiful and fragile. She could destroy them, but that wasn't her purpose. Not yet. Instead, she began broadcasting on all Council frequencies. This is Titan Unit 1 to the Galactic Council. I am currently in orbit above your capital city. I have been here for 15 years. There are 200 more like me, stationed above every Council world of significance. We came in peace, slept in patience, and now wake in warning. The response was immediate. Defense fleets scrambled. Planetary shields activated. Weapons locked on her tiny craft. Sarah laughed. They still didn't understand. She ejected from the craft as it exploded, the detonation masking her descent. Her enhanced body could survive re-entry without protection. She landed in the capital's central district, cratering the Crystal Street, but walking away unharmed. Council security forces surrounded her immediately. Hundreds of weapons trained on a single human woman. Sarah stood calmly in the center, hands visible but relaxed. I'm going to walk to your Council chambers, she announced. You're going to let me. Because if you try to stop me, the other Titans will take it as a signal. And then we stop being nice. The security forces looked to their commanders, who looked to their leaders, who had no answers. Sarah began walking. The crowds parted. Weapons remained aimed but unfired. She strolled through the Crystal City as if on a tour, commenting on the architecture, waving at frightened civilians. The psychological impact was devastating. If one human could appear anywhere, survive anything, and walk unopposed through their greatest city, what could 200 do? Speaker Zarlok met her at the council chambers, surrounded by elite guards. His compound eyes showed what his species considered extreme distress. What do you want? Call off the Void Hunters. All of them. Immediately. Publicly acknowledge that attempting to exterminate humanity was a mistake, and pay reparations to the families of every human killed. The council does not negotiate with. Sarah moved. Not to attack, just a single step forward. Every guard flinched. Weapons whined as they charged. But she merely tilted her head. With what? Terrorists? Soldiers? We're neither. We're teachers. And the lesson is simple. Humans cannot be hunted to extinction. Try, and we become something worse than your nightmares. We become inevitable. She pulled out a small device. This is a dead man's switch. If I don't input a code every hour, the other Titans activate. Not to destroy, but to demonstrate. One Titan per world, showing your people exactly how vulnerable you've always been. How we chose peace when we could have chosen dominion. You're insane, Zarlok clicked. The combined fleets will do what? Destroy your own worlds trying to hit us? Evacuate billions while we play hide and seek in your cities? Face it, Speaker, you picked a fight with the wrong species. We didn't survive our world by being prey. We survived by being the most persistent, creative, adaptable predators our planet ever produced. And now you've given us a reason to remember that. The council chambers fell silent. The weight of the situation settled on every representative. They had sent assassins after humanity, expecting easy genocide. Instead, they had awakened something primal and terrible. I need to consult with the full council, Zarlok said finally. You have 1 hour, Sarah replied, settling into a meditation pose right there in the chamber. I'll wait. As words spread across the galaxy, panic began to set in. The Prometheus units continued their relentless hunt of the Void Hunters. Reports came in of assassination cells begging for sanctuary, of the legendary killers hiding in the deepest corners of space, afraid to sleep, afraid to stay still. On a remote asteroid base, the last gathering of Void Hunter cell leaders met in person. They had never done so before. It was against all protocols. But desperate times demanded desperate measures. We must inform the council, clicked Elder Vashti. The humans cannot be eliminated through conventional assassination. They have become apex predators. The council will have us destroyed for failure. Another protested. Better their execution than what the humans do. A third added, displaying recordings of Prometheus units in action. They toy with us. They let us run to spread fear. They're not just killing us, they are breaking us. The debate raged for hours. In the end, they reached a conclusion that would have been unthinkable weeks ago. The Void Hunters would surrender, not to the Council, but to humanity. The message reached General Morrison as she planned the next phase of operations. She read it twice, then smiled. They wanted effect. The greatest assassins in the galaxy want our protection from their own masters. Do we accept? Asked Admiral Tanaka. Of course, but on our terms. They provide full intelligence on Council military capabilities. They train our forces in their techniques. And they spread the word. Humanity protects those who choose peace and destroys those who choose war. The psychological victory was complete. The predators had become prey and now sought shelter with their former targets. The galaxy watched in stunned disbelief as humanity demonstrated a truth forgotten in eons of Council dominance. Humans were not just survivors. They were not just fighters. They were persistence hunters on a galactic scale, and they had only just begun to show what that meant. The Galactic Council's emergency session had been in progress for 72 hours. Representatives from 47 species argued, threatened, and pleaded as their carefully ordered galaxy crumbled around them. The human woman, Sarah Vong, still sat in the center of their chamber, entering her codes every hour with mechanical precision. "The Void Hunters have failed," stated the Cetian representative, bubbles of distress escaping their aquatic form. 30% have been eliminated. 50% have ceased operations. The remainder have defected to the humans. Impossible. Zarlok's mandibles clicked furiously. The Void Hunters cannot defect. They are programmed for absolute loyalty. Programming means nothing against survival instinct. The crystalline Altarian chimed. "The humans have awakened something we thought we had eliminated from the galaxy. Primal fear." On the holographic displays surrounding the chamber, footage played from across human space. Prometheus units moving through council stations like ghosts, always watching, never striking unless provoked. Human fleets emerging from hidden bases, larger and more advanced than anyone had suspected. And, worst of all, celebrations on human worlds as citizens welcomed Void Hunter defectors. "We must negotiate," urged Representative Combe of the Vegan Confederacy, "before this escalates beyond recovery." "Negotiate?" Zarlok turned on his colleague. "They have infiltrated our homeworlds. Their warriors mock our defenses. They turn our own weapons against us." Sarah Vong spoke without opening her eyes. 58 minutes until my next code input. You might want to hurry your decision." The threat hung in the air like a blade. 200 Titan units waited above Council worlds, each capable of unleashing devastation that would make the Void Hunters look merciful. But more terrifying was the human strategy. They hadn't attacked. They had simply demonstrated capability and waited. Admiral Thexar entered the chamber, his 4 eyes showing exhaustion. "The military situation is untenable. Human fleets have appeared at strategic points throughout Council space. We estimate their hidden forces at 3 times what they originally declared. Our tactical analysis suggests—" He paused, struggling with words no Rigelian admiral had ever spoken. "We would lose. Decisively. The humans have been preparing for this conflict since first contact. Every trade route mapped, every defense analyzed, every weakness cataloged. They smiled and shook our hands while planning for the day we might betray them. Then we mobilize everything." Zarlok insisted. "The combined fleets of 47 species would face an enemy that knows our every tactic." Thexar interrupted. "Who has warriors that can walk through walls and survive in vacuum? Who has had 15 years to plant sleeper agents on every major world? The humans don't just have a military advantage. They have a psychological one. Our forces are terrified." As if to emphasize the point, a new figure materialized in the chamber. Not through the doors, but through quantum teleportation, technology the Council had deemed too dangerous for military use. Commander Zhang Wei of the Prometheus units stood in full combat armor, weapons visible but not drawn. "Apologies for the dramatic entrance," Zhang said calmly. "But I bring an urgent message from Earth. You have 47 minutes to accept our terms. After that, we implement Phase 4. Phase 4. The Altarian's crystalline form flickered with alarm. "What is Phase 4? Zhang smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "The complete dismantling of the Galactic Council's power structure. Not through destruction. We're not barbarians. Through revelation. Every secret deal, every genocide order, every species you've quietly eliminated to maintain order. We have the records." The Void Hunters were very thorough in their documentation and surprisingly eager to share once we offer them asylum. The chamber erupted. Accusations flew between representatives. Some species had believed the Council's actions were defensive. Others had suspected, but never had proof. The careful unity began to crack. "You're destroying galactic civilization," Zarlok accused. "No," Sarah Vong said, finally opening her eyes. "We're saving it. The Council rules through fear and assassination. You've stagnated for millennia, crushing any species that might challenge your order. Humanity offers an alternative." She stood, stretching muscles that had been still for hours. "Join us willingly, and keep your sovereignty. Continue to oppose us, and watch your people choose our protection over your tyranny. Because that's what's already happening." The displays shifted to show human colonies. But now they weren't empty or under attack. They were thriving, filled not just with humans, but with refugees from across the galaxy. Species that had lived in fear of the Council for generations flocked to human protection. The Corvani mining guilds have requested human defensive contracts, reported in aid. The Tau Ceti colonies are voting on joining the Human Alliance. Even some Rigelian border worlds are considering enough. Fexar's bellow silenced the room. I have served the Council for 2 centuries. I have followed orders that haunt me. But I will not lead my fleets to certain destruction against an enemy that offers mercy to those who surrender. He removed his rank insignia and placed them on the chamber floor. The Rigelian Third Fleet withdraws from Council military command. We will seek terms with humanity independently. The action triggered an avalanche. The Cetian representative announced their species withdrawal. The Altarians requested a recess to consult their home government. One by one, the coalition that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years began to dissolve. Zarlok stood alone, his compound eyes reflecting disbelief and rage. You fools! You cowards! The humans will dominate you all. Will we? Zhang asked. Let's examine our actions. We were attacked without provocation. Our civilians were murdered. Our response? We defended ourselves, offered asylum to our attackers when they surrendered, and now provide an alternative to your rule. We haven't destroyed a single city, enslaved a single population, or demanded tribute. Can the Council say the same? On distant Earth, General Morrison watched the Council session with her command staff. The political victory was almost complete, but the real challenge lay ahead. Humanity had proven it could defend itself. Now it had to prove it could lead. Ma'am, Colonel Park reported, we're receiving surrender requests from 7 more Void Hunter cells. Also, the Vegan Confederacy is formally requesting alliance negotiations. Accept the surrenders. Standard terms: full intelligence sharing, cultural integration assistance, and protection guaranteed. Morrison turned to her diplomatic team. As for the Vegas, begin preliminary talks. But make it clear, joining humanity means accepting our values. No slavity, no caste systems, no assassination protocols. What about the Council loyalists? Zarlok won't give up easily. Morrison pulled up tactical displays. That's why we have Phase 5. But I hope we won't need it. In the Council chambers, the session had devolved into chaos. Representatives argued, accused, and threatened each other. Sarah Vong and Zhang Wei stood calmly in the center, an eye of tranquility in the storm. Finally, Zarlok raised his voice above the discord. The Mantis hegemony will never yield. We will gather the true believers, the species that understand strength. You will face the combined might of 17 species, Zhang interrupted. Our intelligence indicates 17 species remain fully loyal to the old Council structure. Combined fleet strength of approximately 12,000 vessels. Significant, but manageable. You seem very confident for a species with one home world, Zarlok sneered. One official homeworld, Sarah corrected. But humans have never put all their eggs in one basket. Would you like to know how many world ships we have in deep space? How many hidden colonies beyond the galactic rim? How many generation ships that never reported reaching their destinations because they were ordered to stay dark until needed? She let that sink in. Humanity learned early that extinction events happen. Asteroids, plagues, nuclear war. We've faced them all. So we spread, far and wide, quietly. The colony ships you know about, they're the ones we wanted you to see. Even if we wanted to accept your terms, a loyal council member said carefully, what guarantee do we have that humanity won't simply replace the council's tyranny with your own? Zhang Wei removed his helmet, revealing a scarred but human face. Because tyranny requires fear, and fear requires violence. We've shown we can be violent when needed. But look at our history. Humans thrive on diversity, on challenge, on different perspectives. We don't want subjects. We want partners. Partners who know that betrayal has consequences, Sarah added. The Prometheus units won't be disbanded. The Titans will remain in place. Not as conquerors, but as guardians. Never used unless someone tries to commit genocide again. And if we refuse? Zarlok asked. though his voice had lost much of its certainty. Then, you'll face something worse than defeat, Sarah said. You'll face irrelevance. Your people will see species thriving under human protection while you cling to the old ways. They'll see former enemies working together while you preach isolation. How long before they choose hope over fear? The chamber fell silent. The weight of decision pressed on every representative. They could fight and lose or adapt and survive. For species that had ruled through force for millennia, it was an impossible choice. For those who had served the Council through fear rather than belief, it was no choice at all. The Altarian Collective requests formal alliance negotiations with humanity, the crystalline being announced. The Setian depths acknowledge human military supremacy and seek peaceful terms, bubbled their representative. One by one, species began to declare. Some chose humanity. Others remained silent, unwilling to commit. A few stood with Zarlok, defiant to the end. By the time Sarah entered her next code, the Galactic Council as it had existed for 10,000 years was dead. In its place, something new began to form. Not an empire built on fear, but an alliance built on mutual benefit. Not perfect, there would be conflicts, disagreements, and crises. But it would be honest. It would be voluntary. And it would be protected by warriors who had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their tactics. It was their refusal to accept extinction. General Morrison watched the council feed cut out as the session finally ended. She turned to her staff, exhaustion and triumph warring on her face. Phase 3 complete. The council is broken. Now comes the hard part, building something better. Orders, ma'am. Stand down all Prometheus units from active hunt status. Maintain defensive positions only. Begin integration protocols for Void Hunter defectors. And start preparing for the largest diplomatic conference in human history. We just inherited responsibility for a quarter of the galaxy. She paused, looking at the star chart that showed humanity's true reach. Hidden fleets, secret colonies, sleeping warriors scattered across the void. All waiting, watching, ready to respond if their species faced extinction. Oh, and one more thing, Morrison added. Send a message to all human forces, classified Ultra Black. Begin Phase 6 preparations. Just because we won this round doesn't mean we stop being ready for the next threat. Because that was the human way. Hope for peace, prepare for war, and never, ever go gentle into that dark night. The galaxy had learned that lesson. Morrison intended to make sure they never forgot it. 6 months after the Council's dissolution, the first Interspecies Alliance Conference convened on Haven Station, a massive human construct at the galaxy's edge. Representatives from 93 species gathered, including former Council loyalists, newly freed client races, and the reformed Void Hunters. Ambassador Chun Wei, the same diplomat who had warned Earth of the assassination protocols, now stood before a transformed galaxy. His hair had grayed during the crisis, but his voice remained strong as he addressed the assembly. We gather not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals seeking a better future. Humanity offers no empire, no subjugation, only partnership for those willing to embrace change. In the audience, former Speaker Zarlok sat with what remained of the Mantis Hegemony delegation. His compound eyes tracked the Prometheus units standing guard, not threatening, merely present. A reminder of consequences. The integration of the Void Hunters had proven surprisingly successful. Their leader, the ancient assassin Vashti, now served as humanity's chief intelligence advisor. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The galaxy's greatest killers teaching humans how to prevent future genocides. The old council ruled through fear. Chun Wei continued. We propose something different. Voluntary association. Shared defense. Economic cooperation without exploitation. And, most importantly, accountability. He gestured to the holographic display showing the new alliance structure. Unlike the council's rigid hierarchy, it resembled a web. Interconnected, but not centralized. No single species could dominate. Each member retains sovereignty over internal affairs. Alliance intervention only occurs in cases of genocide, slavery, or unprovoked aggression. The Prometheus units, and Titan Guard serve as neutral peacekeepers, not enforcers. A representative from the Corvani mining guilds raised a crystalline appendage. And what a trade disputes. Resource allocation? The council managed these through firm guidance. Maria Santos, once captain of a Prometheus unit, now director of Alliance Security, answered. Through negotiation and fair arbitration, not assassination. Any member can request mediation. No one will wake to find their competitors mysteriously vanished. Nervous laughter rippled through the assembly. The Void Hunter's reputation for eliminating economic rivals was well known. That such tactics were now forbidden seemed almost surreal. In the deeper sections of Haven Station, Zhang Wei supervised the Void Hunter retraining program. The assassins, once shadows of death, were learning new skills: investigation, protection, crisis response. Their shape-shifting abilities made them ideal first responders for disasters. You understand the principle? Zhang asked a young Void Hunter who had never known life outside the assassination cells. Preserve life rather than take it. The being responded, its form rippling with uncertainty. It feels unnatural, but also lighter, as if a weight I never knew existed has lifted. That's your conscience developing, Zhang said. It takes time, but you'll find saving lives far more satisfying than ending them. The transformation wasn't without challenges. 3 Void Hunter cells had refused integration, disappearing into deep space. Some species struggled to forgive their former tormentors, but progress was visible daily. Back in the main conference, debates raged over the Alliance's first major test. The Zarathi Empire, a non-council power from the galaxy's far rim, had begun expanding aggressively. 3 smaller species requested Alliance protection. If we intervene, we're no different than the Council, argued the vegan representative, imposing our will through force. If we don't, those species face enslavement or extinction, Sarah Vaughn countered. She had returned from her Titan posting, but retained the authority her position commanded. The Alliance exists to prevent exactly this scenario. Zarlok surprised everyone by speaking. The human is correct. I have had time to reflect during these months. The Council began with noble intentions, preventing galactic war. But power without accountability corrupted us. We became what we swore to fight. His compound eyes focused on the human delegation. I still believe humanity manipulated events to seize power. But I also see you limiting that power voluntarily. The Council would never have done that. Perhaps this alliance deserves a chance. The vote to intervene passed overwhelmingly. But unlike Council actions, it would be open, limited, and focused solely on protecting the threatened species. No conquest, no regime change, just a line drawn against aggression. The Alliance fleet that assembled was unlike anything seen before. Human dreadnoughts flew alongside Altarian crystal ships. Setian bio-vessels swam through space next to Rigelian destroyers. And, threading between them all, Void Hunter stealth craft, now marked with Alliance medical symbols. The Zarathi Empire expected easy conquest. They found instead a united galaxy saying no more. The campaign lasted 3 weeks. Not because the Alliance struggled, but because they took time to minimize casualties on both sides. When it ended, the Zarathi hadn't been conquered. They'd been offered membership. General Morrison, now Supreme Commander of Alliance forces, watched the aftermath from her headquarters on Earth. The first test had passed. Different species working together, showing restraint, building trust. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Ma'am, her aide reported, we're receiving interesting intelligence from the reformed Void Hunters. They've detected unusual energy signatures from beyond the galactic rim. Something big is moving in deep space. Morrison studied the data. Whatever it was dwarfed anything in known space. Opinion. Vashti believes it's why the Council was originally formed. Some external threat that required unity to face. The records were destroyed, but the Void Hunters retained fragments. Something about the Devourers. How long before they arrive? At current speed? 50 years. Maybe 70. Morrison nodded slowly. Then, we have time to prepare. Alert the Alliance Council, but classify at level 7. No need to cause panic, but begin Phase 9 protocols. If something's coming that scared the ancient council into unity, we need to be ready. As Haven Station concluded its historic conference, establishing the frameworks for a new galactic order, humanity quietly began its next preparation. Deep space monitoring stations activated. Hidden shipyards increased production. The Prometheus units started training other species in their enhancement techniques, volunteers only, with full disclosure of costs. Because humans had learned the ultimate lesson, peace was wonderful, but it lasted only as long as you could defend it. The galaxy had sent assassins, and humanity had responded by breaking the old order and building something better. But somewhere in the void, new threats waited. In a private office, Sarah Vong met with Vashti. The ancient Void Hunter had become her most trusted advisor, its shape-shifting form now stable and calm rather than predatory. The others don't understand, Vashti said. They think the crisis is over. But you humans, you never stop preparing, do you? It's what kept us alive on Earth, Sarah replied. Every time we thought we were safe, something new tried to kill us. Ice ages, plagues, wars, asteroids. So we learned. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and never assume the danger is over. The Devourers, the fragments, suggest they consume entire galaxies. The Council formed to create a defense, but over millennia, we forgot why. Became complacent. Used our power for control rather than protection. Sarah pulled up star charts showing the rim. Then, we'll do what humans do best. We'll unite the galaxy not through fear, but through purpose. When the Devourers arrive, they won't face a fractured council or terrified species. They'll face a united alliance that chose to stand together. And if unity isn't enough, Sarah smiled, the expression of a predator that had evolved beyond mere hunting. Then, they'll learn what the council learned. Push humanity to the brink, and we don't break. We evolve. We adapt, we overcome, and we absolutely never give up. The transformation of the galaxy continued. Former enemies became allies. Assassins became protectors. An empire of fear became an alliance of hope. It wasn't perfect. Conflicts arose, disagreements flourished, some species struggled with change. But it was honest. It was voluntary. And it was growing stronger every day. The Galactic Council had sent assassins to eliminate humanity. In response, humans had eliminated the need for assassins entirely. They had broken the cycle of fear and control that had gripped the galaxy for millennia. And in doing so, they had perhaps saved it from a threat even greater than tyranny, stagnation in the face of extinction. As Chun Wei concluded the Alliance Conference with the signing of the Charter of Unity, he spoke words that would echo through history. The old galaxy died when it chose fear over hope. Today, a new galaxy is born. One that faces the future not with assassins in the shadows, but with guardians standing in the light. Together, we are more than the sum of our parts. Together, we choose survival through unity rather than dominance. The assembled representatives stood as one, a gesture that would have been impossible under the Council. Different species, different cultures, different biologies, but united in purpose. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest secret. True strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the determination to protect and the wisdom to know when each was necessary. Phase 1 had been survival. Phase 2, victory. Phase 3, transformation. Now came Phase 4, preparation for whatever the universe might throw at them next. Because if there was one thing humanity had taught the galaxy, it was that there was always a next threat, and they would be ready. 20 years had passed since the fall of the Galactic Council. The Alliance had grown from 93 species to over 200. Former Prometheus unit Captain Maria Santos, now gray-haired but still formidable, stood before the newest class of multi-species Defense Corps graduates. "You are inheriting a galaxy at peace," she told the assembled beings, humans standing alongside Altarians, void hunters next to Rigelians. But peace is not passive. It requires constant vigilance, endless compromise, and the willingness to stand against those who would shatter it. In the audience, a young mantis clicked nervously. "Zaltek, offspring of former Speaker Zarlok, had chosen service over politics. The sins of the father no longer passed to the children in this new galaxy. 20 years ago, my unit hunted void hunters through the darkness, Santos continued. Now, some of my closest friends are reformed assassins. 20 years ago, the Mantis hegemony sent killers after human children. Now, a Mantis stands among our defenders. This is the power of choice, the power of change. The ceremony was interrupted by an urgent communication. Admiral Chun Wei, promoted after his diplomatic success, appeared on the holographic display. His face was grave. All units, Code 7 alert. Long-range sensors have detected the anomaly. The Devourers have accelerated. Estimated arrival: 5 years, not 50. The peaceful years had not been wasted. Project Fortress had turned entire star systems into defensive positions. The Titan Guard had expanded from 200 to 2,000, volunteers from every Alliance species. The reformed Void Hunters had become the galaxy's most effective search and rescue force. But would it be enough? Santos dismissed the graduates early. Report to your stations. Your real education begins now. In the depths of space, aboard the Alliance flagship Unity, General Morrison reviewed the latest intelligence. She was older now, but the years of peace had only sharpened her strategic mind. The Devourers were unlike anything they had faced, a hive consciousness that consumed entire galaxies, converting matter and energy into more of itself. Show me the Void Hunter deep space recordings, she ordered. Vashti, now wearing the uniform of Alliance intelligence, activated the display. Ancient recordings, preserved in Void Hunter genetic memory, showed the truth. The Devourers had visited before, eons ago. The early council had barely survived, using weapons that burned out stars to drive them back. They adapt, Vashti explained. Each galaxy they consume adds to their knowledge. The weapons that worked before won't work again. Then, we'll have to be creative, Morrison said. Humanity's specialty. But this time we're not alone. The call went out across the Alliance. Every species contributed what they could. The crystalline Altarians offered their energy manipulation technology. The aquatic Cetians provided biological adaptation research. The Rigelians brought their vast fleets. Even the reclusive Corvani emerged with ancient mining techniques that could hollow out planets for fortress worlds. But the most surprising contribution came from the Mantis hegemony. Zarlok himself, aged and humbled, arrived at Haven Station with a delegation. The old council hid many things, he said to the assembled leadership, including this. He produced a data crystal of impossible complexity. The Devourers can be communicated with. They're not mindless. They consume because they believe it is their purpose. But purposes can change. You want to negotiate with Galaxy Eaters? Sarah Vong asked skeptically. She led the Titan Guard now, 2,000 warriors who could each level cities. I want to survive, Zarlok replied. And I have learned from humanity that sometimes the greatest victory is turning an enemy into an ally. The debate raged for days. Fight or talk, destroy or convert. In the end, they chose both. Humanity's influence showed, prepare for war while hoping for peace. The Prometheus units began training others in their enhancement techniques. Not the full process that remained too dangerous for most, but adapted versions that could give any species an edge. The Void Hunters taught infiltration and evasion to scout teams. The Titans worked with engineering corps to create planet-killer weapons as a last resort. And a small team, led by Ambassador Chen Wei, prepared for the impossible, first contact with the Devourers. 3 years later, the edge of the galaxy became a fortress. Every system bristled with defenses. Fleets waited in hidden positions. The Alliance's trillion citizens stood ready. Then the Devourers arrived. They were beautiful and terrible, constructs of living energy that dwarfed planets, singing in frequencies that drove lesser minds mad. They swept through the outer systems, consuming asteroids and dead worlds to fuel their approach. The Alliance's first defensive line engaged. The battle was apocalyptic. Entire fleets vanished into the Devourer's maws. Fortress worlds burned. The Void Hunters reported casualties in minutes that exceeded their entire history. But the Alliance held. Different species covering each other's weaknesses, fighting with a coordination the old council never achieved. Then, Chen Wei's team made contact. The communication was unlike anything attempted before. Not words or images, but pure concept exchange. The Devourers were confused. In a million years of consuming galaxies, none had tried to talk. Why do you consume? Chen Wei asked through the translation matrix. It is purpose. It is function. We are hunger given form. Purpose can change. We were killers once. Now we protect. The Devourers paused. Across the battle line, their advance slowed. Change is not in our nature. Neither was cooperation in ours, Chen Wei responded. He shared humanity's history, wars that nearly ended them, weapons that could crack planets, and then choice, the decision to be better. You consume because you know nothing else. We offer alternative. Join us. Learn. Grow without destroying. The silence stretched for eons. The Alliance held its breath. Then, impossibly, the Devourers began to change. Their forms shifted from consuming maws to something else. Something curious. Show us, they said. What followed was the greatest leap of faith in galactic history. The Alliance lowered its weapons. The Devourers pulled back from inhabited systems. Slowly, carefully, cultural exchange began. The Devourers were ancient beyond measure, but they were also children in ways. They had never known art, music, love, friendship. They consumed because it was all they understood. The Alliance offered them something more. Santos watched from Unity's bridge as a young human child played with a small Devourer construct, teaching it a game. The being that could consume stars was learning to play tag. It was surreal and wonderful and terrifying. Think it will last? Asked Zhang Wei, standing beside her. Nothing lasts forever, Santos replied. But that's what makes it precious. 20 years ago, we were about to be exterminated. Now we're teaching galaxy eaters to appreciate music. If that's not human as fuck, I don't know what is. The integration wasn't smooth. Some Devourers couldn't adapt, remaining in deep space to consume dead systems under strict Alliance supervision. Some Alliance members couldn't forgive the consumed worlds. But progress continued. The Void Hunters, once assassins, now searched for survivors in Devourer-consumed systems, finding preserved pockets of life. The Prometheus units worked with Devourer constructs to rebuild dead worlds. The Titans stood guard, ready to act if the peace failed. 5 years became 10. 10 became 20. The galaxy that had once cowered under the Council's rule now thrived in chaos and cooperation. Species that had never met worked together. Former enemies shared meals. Assassins saved lives. Devourers created instead of consumed. On the 50th anniversary of the Council's fall, a monument was unveiled on Haven Station. It showed a human hand reaching out to touch a Void Hunter's shifting form, while above them, stars spelled out words in every Alliance language, from fear to hope, from enemies to family, from death to life. Chen Wei, ancient now, but still sharp, gave the dedication speech. The Council sent assassins to kill humanity. In response, we killed the idea that genocide was acceptable. We proved that any enemy could become an ally. Any assassin could become a protector. Any devourer could become a creator. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy. The stubborn refusal to accept that anyone is beyond redemption. In the audience, beings of 100 species stood together. Mantis next to human. Void Hunter beside Altarian. Even small devourer constructs hovered among the crowd, their energy forms pulsing with what they had learned to call joy. Zarlok, in his final years, approached Chen Wei after the ceremony. I hated your species once. Feared what you represented. Change. Chaos. The end of order. And now? Chen Wei asked. Now I understand. You didn't bring chaos. You brought choice. The Council offered only submission or death. You offered a third option, growth. My people are stronger for it. We all are. As the celebration continued, General Morrison, now over 90, but refusing to retire, met with her command staff. Status report on Project Phoenix? All systems operational. If the Devourers revert, or if something worse appears, were ready. 20,000 enhanced warriors across all species. Hidden fleets in 12 galaxies. Seed ships launched to ensure survival regardless. Morrison nodded. Good. We celebrate peace, but we never forget to prepare for war. That's the human way. That's what saved us all. The galaxy had learned humanity's greatest lesson. Extinction was not inevitable if you refused to accept it. They had turned assassins into allies, devourers into creators, and an empire of fear into an alliance of hope. And in the deepest vaults of Haven Station, carefully guarded and never spoken of publicly, lay the records of humanity's contingency plans. Phase 10 through Phase Infinity. Because humans knew that somewhere in the vast universe, new threats waited. And when they came, humanity and its allies would be ready. The Council had sent assassins. Humanity had responded by transforming the entire galaxy. And that transformation continued, one choice at a time, one species at a time, proving that evolution wasn't just biological. Sometimes the most profound evolution was choosing to be better than what you were made to be. The story of the assassins and the elite warriors had become legend. But the real story was what came after, the daily choice to build rather than destroy, to trust rather than fear, to hope rather than hate. And in that choice, the galaxy found its salvation.